ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at thebuttkicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
Matrix harnesses the power and versatility of the smartphone or tablet and turns it into a powerful input device customized to fit the application you're using. Whether you're looking for a remote control for media player, presentation, or immersive game interface with precisely timed macros, Matrix has you covered. Visit matrixapp.com for details.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the virtual Richmond Raceway here up in Richmond, Virginia. It is a beautiful evening for 200 laps of racing, and no doubt it is going to be a thriller as we get set to continue with playoff racing in the iRacing Stock Car Association Super Cup Series for the MatrixApp.com 200. Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Old Rempo. I've got Brian Britt beside me in the broadcast booth with Rob Melnick, acting as technical director down behind the cameras for tonight's presentation. So, Brian, it's a 3/4 mile short track, even shorter than the 1.3 mile speedway we were at just 1 week ago, and we know how bad these guys wanting to beat and bang for a while, and they'll get their fill tonight.
Oh, yeah, 100%. This is going to be a pretty good race here. I mean, we just followed it up with Darlington, which was an excellent race. And I know we got on screen right now Wayne Grossi having some problems coming out of turn 2 there. But, you know, he had an excellent race last week also. So, I mean, a lot of guys out here are going to be wanting to keep this momentum going for sure.
Presently, when you take a look over at the point standings, it's Justin Levine who, for the first time all season long, finds himself top of the point standings, 9 points up over Brian Johnson. The big story when we talk about playoff racing, as this is the second race in the round of 8, is Clayton Hoffman and Boyd Hogan. They were running 1-2 up in the point standings, up until last week, before the playoffs started. But both of those drivers missed last week's race, which means they are now 22 points behind Kyle Labrie, and they are also in the 2 cut positions as well. So those 2 drivers, we were talking about this earlier, Brian, they've got a lot of work to do in the next 2 weeks if they want to punch their way into the round of 6. Qualifying is presently underway for the Richmond Raceway, and we speak about Clayton Hoffman, who needs a good result. Well, he's currently on pole position with a 22.260 in his number 92 Gas and Go Racing Chevrolet Camaro, and Brian Johnson, you can see, is looking to get some times down as well. He's presently on his first of 2 laps that these drivers get. Boyd Hogan, how about him? Top of the time in boards by just a 100th of a second, going to 21.250 over Clayton Hoffman.
Yeah, I mean, we expected Boyd to be really strong here. Sorry about me not answering earlier. For some reason, I had a little technical difficulty there. But, yeah, Boyd always is going to be a strong contender out there. It's going to be very hard to match his kind of level of speed as he hits that 21.250. Definitely going to be hard to even get close to that.
So the top 2 drivers that both need a good finish tonight are going to be lining up on the front row, it looks like, unless anybody can come home and stop those times out. But so far, the next closest time to those guys isn't even to the 21.2s. It's all the way back with a 21.341. So these guys are almost a whole 10th of a second up on qualifying just by themselves, which around a 3/4 mile short track with only 21-second lap times, that is honestly a lifetime of time out there on course.
Yeah, for sure. But one thing we also got to consider is that because this is a short track Richmond, I mean, this place will eat up your tires. This is one, you can hot lap all day and be that, fast in the short run, but can you put together a whole run? That's going to be the real question, I do believe.
I can't deny that, as Connor Mulligan has himself a bit of a spin in his number 11 machine. He was trying to go for a faster time, just put himself up into 8th place with a 21.451 on his first lap. He will not be able to improve on that time after suffering a bit of a spin out of turn number 2. So the times continue to drop there. We see our own Al Kozlowski throwing his way around the track, currently sitting 15th place with the 21.752, and he will also send his machine around, and he's actually going to send that one into the inside barrier. So Al also having some difficulties out there on course. A lot of drivers seem to struggle a little bit getting that power down, and I can't say I blame them, Brian. You get those times, and you see how far up you are, and you get a little bit too eager, and it gets the better of you on that second lap.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree to that. The first lap, I think you're probably going to have a little bit better tires to work with, too, considering how hard you're trying to drive that race car. So I think that second lap, you're really going to have a lot of handling conditions. I think that that's going to be pretty normal here. And just looking at how the race is going to be, I mean, is it going to be like that where these guys are going to be walking on the eggshells every time they try to come out of the corner? I mean, it looks like they're definitely going to have a lot of throttle control to be successful here tonight.
Well, we are running that low downforce, high horsepower package, and we saw what that was doing with wheel spin over at Darlington. Now, of course, Darlington has a much older track surface. That being said, it could prove a significant challenge for these drivers here at Richmond Raceway. It's a tight track, and it is a fun track, though, to say the very least. I also don't think anybody else is on course, so looks like we are going to have our qualifying order just about wrapped up for you here, but before we get that underway, we'll take a quick step away as qualifying begins to draw to a close. We'll take a listen to the national anthem. We'll be back with you in just a couple minutes. The national anthem has been sung, and the most famous words of motorsports have been said. Let's take a rundown for your ButtKicker starting grid. It's Boyd Hogan and Clayton Hoffman to line it up just 1/100th of a second apart on the front row. Both drivers, they missed the last race. They need a good race coming into tonight, and they're starting 1-2 out there on your starting grid. Justin Levine sits in third place. Travis Manning, too late to set a practice lap. He does get a qualifying lap, though, in. That's good enough for P4, with Matthew McMeekin rounding out the top 5.
Coming in 6th is Chad Sullivan, that 21 car. 7th place, Josh Schaffner, 50 car. The 8th place is going to be the 11 machine of Connor McCulkin. We saw him have some problems during qualifying, but he was able to really get that 8th place, so good for him. 9th place, 4 of Brian Johnson, and rounding out the top 10, the 9 of Kyle Labrie.
That'll put Chris Johnson down in 11th place with Noah Bitts in 12th. Greg Wyszynski in 13th with Kenny Powell 14th. Al Kozlowski had a crash in the second qualifying lap. He is going to be starting in 15th place.
And then it's starting out with 16th here, the 83 of Craig Johnson. 17th, the 17 of Robert Pattengale. 18th, Will Barlow into 15. 19th, Roy Hyde into 13th. And the rounding out the 20th place here is Wayne Grossi in the 7, which had a really good performance last week. Hopefully I can see him drive through the field here. I mean, I think that was really a good breakout performance for him last week.
18th on back, not setting qualifying laps, so that leaves Brian Littleton in 21st with Corey Cook 22nd, Cecil Keith at 23rd, Randy Drumhill at 24th. It's Seth Hollander and Paul Regney to round out the rest of the field, but Seth Hollander not starting this race on the track. He'll be starting this one from pit road after missing the call. 2 pace laps for these drivers here, Brian, and let's take a look over at some of the race stats. Of course, it is the 200-lap race. Stages are ended at 40 and 80. Estimated fuel window, roughly 75 to 78 laps, give or take. With all that in mind, how do you think we can expect this race to play out?
Well, I definitely expect we're going to see some green flag pit stops in that late stage there. Of course, to that, I don't think we're going to see it in the first couple stages, of course. But tires are going to be a real concern. I mean, these guys are going to definitely be burning those tires up. And those guys that maybe start from the pits, I don't know if that's a very good idea, considering I think you're going to go down a lap pretty fast here.
An early race caution, certainly not out of the question. These races at short tracks and officials certainly tend to be caution fests, but that being said, we have a very talented group of guys that come on out on a weekly basis to race with us, and with the 26 cars we've got out here, well, technically 25 until Seth Hollander comes onto the track, we should be expecting some longer green flag runs, although I will say, I don't think they're going to be about as long as the usual runs we're used to seeing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think a lot of these guys are going to have to get used to, racing around each other on this racetrack. Not a lot of runoff room whenever you're coming off these corners. I mean, we've seen how loose these guys are going to get, and that's going to cause some problems, I think, early here. But I think as the race goes on, these guys are going to get used to it, learn from their mistakes, and we'll probably see some good green racing later in the race, though.
We're happy that you joined us on a Thursday night. Pace car pulls off. We wait on Boyd Hogan and the Reaper Speed Labs 96. We are underway for the MajorGround.com 200 here at Richmond.
Very good restart there from Boyd Hogan at 96. He does have the 19 right there behind him, though, and we've seen Justin Levine being very strong here, but Clayton Hoffman getting a big run on the top there, able to really clear Justin. Can he have a chance to really get up there to Boyd?
Manages to get clear for now. Levine still looks for the inside, trying to see if he can maybe pick up that second position, and dives one into the inside at turn number 1. Hoffman, can he try to cover him off with a run of the exit? Levine gets a little bit loose, and that is going to allow Hoffman to get the run. Not quite close enough to reel in Boyd Hogan, but that 92 car is already on the hunt.
Yeah, he definitely has a lot of speed in that race car. I mean, and that's one thing about Richmond. It's a lot like a track like Iowa or something like that. Maybe not have as much banking, but you're able to get some really good runs on that top lane. Just so much more momentum to be had coming out of these corners.
So far, single file all the way throughout this 25 car. Great Walker spins in the back. Look out, Travis Manning, who spins around. Nobody hits him. Caution number 1 on just the third lap of the race, and it came from Travis Manning, who lost that one. Looked like he was already sideways coming on the entry to turn number 3, Brian. Just locked it up, and of course, that was enough to bring out a yellow flag, but good thing nobody else collected him.
Yeah, I think it's very easy to do that. I mean, it looks like he kind of looked like he was not doing too good in the entrance as it is. So, I mean, I feel like he maybe just came in a little too hot, maybe caught those brakes a little too much. Very easy to lock your brakes up here at this racetrack.
I agree with that one 100%, Brian. He just lost that one, dropped it right on the entry. Looks like he honestly might have even turned into it too quick. I mean, these cars don't like when you turn and brake at the same time, so you slam the brakes and turn in. There you see on board. As soon as you touch the brakes, that back end came around. That's exactly what it was. Just came around on it when he hit the brakes.
Be completely honest with you, that looked like something you'd see at a dirt track. I mean, he looked like he was coming into that corner like he was about to drive, like at a dirt track.
I mean, hey, put on the Euro beat. This is certainly one of those tracks forward. You can pull off a slide all the way around one of these corners. Now, that being said, it's not going to gain you a lot of time, will it? But you do look really cool while doing it.
Yeah, and it's definitely not going to be doing your tires any favor. That's for one thing. I mean, because tires are going to be a big thing here. I think that's going to be the name of the game here. If you can really drive and save your tires and still be fast all at the same time.
And speaking of tires, Travis Manning was the only driver to come down under that pit stop, but he has already taken one of his sets of tires. I think that's a questionable move, to be honest with you, Brian. It's a 200-lap race, and you only have 5 sets of tires. That's 4 plus the one you start with. Do you really want to take a set this early on? We're only 5 laps in.
Well, I think his mindset there is probably because, he just had that spin. I mean, the tires are going to be hurting after something like that. I mean, it's going to be hard to recover from that. I think that's his mindset. But I still would kind of, bite the bullet and just stay out, considering you want to have those extra sets left later. I mean, I definitely agree to that mindset too. But I think that's what he's kind of thinking.
I think that's a lot of what these drivers are thinking as well, and I kind of agree with you. He only came down because he had spun. If he hadn't been the one that spun, he probably would have been the one to stay out, but he could have very well flat spotted. You saw it on the replay. He did lock up all 4 tires, and that sent him screaming down into the apron. And I want to give a shout to the field behind him. He spun out from 4th place, and nobody else collected him from behind. That was some superb driving to get around him, and superb driving from Travis as well to get that thing down to the apron as quick as he possibly could.
Yeah, that's one thing you kind of come to expect with these guys. I mean, they might make mistakes and stuff like that, might be a little aggressive sometimes, but most of the time, they have a pretty good head on their shoulders. I mean, most of the guys in this league, they've earned their spot in here. They're seasoned, they know what they're doing, and you can see it every time we come in and broadcast one of these races.
Seth Hollander still has not joined us on the track. He is now 6 laps down and continuing to drop. He did appear to have some technical difficulties and had actually left the facility, but now he is back in, so hopefully we'll see him back up in this thing soon, but it's going to be a tough run for Hollander to try to work his way up through the grid and potentially pick up a position. I think he's just aiming at this point to be on the lead lap. I mean, being 6 laps down, if you get a lot of cautions, that's obviously, that's one thing, but those cautions are inevitably going to put other people laps down, and it's only harder from there.
Yeah, that's one thing about this racetrack. A lot of guys probably, won't pit very often. So even if you have a yellow, a lot of guys will stay out. So you're not going to have that opportunity to really get away around. Your best bet is a lucky dog.
Lights are out atop the pace car. Boyd Hogan, first place. Clayton Hoffman still in second. Levine still in third. It's relatively unchanged throughout the big portion of the field. The first driver that's moved up is Seth Hollander. Then Matthew McMeekin starting where he has been. Schofter's dropped 1 to 6th place with Brian Johnson 7th. Kyle Labrie 8th. Connor Mulligan in 9th, and Noah Bitts to round out the top 10 of the field. Around through turns 3 and 4. Once again, waiting on the curb records. Reaper Speed Labs 96 machine of Boyd Hogan, who's now on the loud pedal early this time through turn 4. We are back underway here at the Richmond Raceway, and it's a much better getaway this time from Boyd Hogan.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those racetracks you can really get away with that. But look at Justin Levine right on the bottom, able to get around to 92. Can he clear him? Looks like he's not going to be able to.
That outside line, it can provide some monstrous runs around the outside line, but Hoffman can't do anything off of turn number 4. So Levine picks up P number 2, and well earned for the 19 car as well, as Hoffman caught napping. Just behind this guys, Schofter and Matthew McMeekin also going side by side. This is the battle for 5th place, at the moment. And they got Brian Johnson, who's looking hungry behind them as well.
100%. I mean, Brian Johnson looking for an opportunity to get around, but it's very difficult to try to make a pass when you got 2 guys already side by side in front of you. You kind of have to pick who you think is going to win this battle and go with them.
Still side by side, they have been since the restart. Matthew McMeekin better on entry, but Schofter finally clears around the exit. Brian Johnson trying to get a run, potentially around the outside line. McMeekin tries to throw one down the inside. Johnson thinking about the bump and run on just the 11th lap of a 200-lap event. I mean, hey, it's nothing saying you can't go for that move early on, but it's not going to really gain you any favors with any of the guys out there on the course.
I think he did the perfect thing, though. He was patient there. I mean, he looked like he was, had a lot of momentum, was getting ready to bump him out of the way, but then you know, the doors opened up for him. I mean, really lucky that they did too, because he has some really hungry drivers right behind him. I mean, the 9 of Calabri looking very strong side by side right now with that 87 of Noah Bitts.
Side by side, 2 rows deep. Labrie looking lower, thinking about 3 wide potentially. McMeekin pulls around the outside and clears just at the entry, but not enough to properly come down to the inside line. Brian Johnson still has him, but I think sooner or later McMeekin will clear. Looks like he finally does so now, but that puts Brian Johnson under fire from Noah Bitts right behind him.
Yeah, one thing about this is because these guys are racing side by side so much, this is not helping their tires at all. These cars are going to start suffering even more. So, I mean, all these guys that are single file and just racing their race, they're going to have a lot more of an advantage on these guys that have been racing so hard, I do believe.
Kyle Labrie has a front row seat out of all of this, and you can see just how tight they get off of turn number 4 and down that front straightaway. Johnson trying to push him as close as he can to Bitts, getting a bit sideways with the 4 car. That opens the door for Labrie, who forces the issue around the outside line. Even Labrie's looking hungry here.
Yeah, what a nice move. I mean, that's the one thing about Richmond that you can do. You can throw it in there on the high side, make something happen. Oh, big contact!
Oh.
The 9 into the outside wall. Was that net code?
Contact between the 4 and the 9 might have been just a little bit, but they made contact. The 9 shot sideways and slammed the outside wall. Everybody missed him. Chris Johnson had a huge scare out of all of that. He somehow squeaked through by the skin of his teeth. Take another look at it. There you see it. There's the contact. And watch Chris Johnson right behind this, splitting the gap.
Wow, what an incident there.
And Johnson is still battling with Kyle Labrie now. Now the 48 car, incredibly lucky to miss that one. Made a split-second decision to go to the inside, locked up one of the tires in the process, but managed to get around it. And now trying to see if he can get back past the number 9 car, who's now got some pretty significant damage on all sides. Labrie cutting off Chris Johnson. Brave move considering what just happened a couple of laps ago. And that might work, though. Chris Johnson trying to get away through, but Labrie does a good job of covering him off.
Yeah, that is some aggressive racing right there that 9 is trying to pull off. I mean, trying to be 5 wide all by himself on that 48 to try to keep him back there. And it seems like it's working. I mean, but how much patience is that 48 of Chris Johnson going to have?
You see just a little ways behind these guys. Al Kozlowski, that was down the inside line, trying to make up a pass on Roy Hyde, and even further behind them, guys like Brian Littleton and Will Barlow are still battling because of all of this checking up going on in front of them, because of all these small little battles going on. That's the thing about Richmond. You battle side by side, it just kills your run. We're talking, it slows you down by about 2 seconds a lap thereabouts, and you have to fall right into the clutches of everybody behind you.
Yeah, that's what really causes it, even more of an issue whenever you can easily go a lap down like that. I mean, you riding side by side like that, the leader is not side by side. He's going to have all the racetrack he needs to be as fast as he possibly can, and he's going to catch you after a while.
Halfway through stage number 1, you see that 22 machine of Travis Manning, cause of the first caution, dive up the inside of Wayne Grossi. The 22 car's on a recovery drive with all the battle going on in front of him. He's looking set to be able to potentially easily pick up a top 10 position, especially since 10th, 9th, and 11th are all still battling with each other, trying to throw their way back up through the mix and regain lost time.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, these guys are definitely racing very hard back here, and just racing going on literally all over the racetrack. Looks like the 24 of Kenny Powell was thinking about going 3 wide there, but the 48 kind of didn't give him enough room to do that as he fights 48 fighting with the 5 of Greg Wojcinski right now.
3 wide at Richmond. It's possible, but heavily advised against, shall we say. Wojcinski is still working on his own G&G teammate of Chris Johnson. And Kenny Powell, another G&G racing crew, just in behind these guys. So it's 3 G&G cars trying to see if they can gang up on the lone and wounded frontline driver right in front of them. And no doubt, Labrie is looking a little bit worried. As soon as these guys single file out, Wojcinski breaks through. He'll pick up 10th place. Chris Johnson, Kenny Powell, they're going to be left to do battle it out side by side.
Yeah, I feel like Kyle Labrie definitely picked up some, a good bit of damage from that. So that is really affecting his race car, it seems like, as Greg Wojcinski really hammering home that he's coming for Kyle Labrie right now.
See Roy Hyde Trying to sort the gap, pal, way down to the inside. Huge bobble for the 24 car. 2-liter on the throttle. Always something to watch out for at these types of short track. Oh boy.
Very close between the 13 and the 48. I mean, it looked like Roy Hyde was getting ready to turn Chris Johnson.
They're not done yet. Roy Hyde's still really pressuring that 48 car. Powell is about to break free here, but Chris Johnson not wanting to let him go, and looks like he'll finally do so in turn number 3. Travis Manning wants to follow through. He'll be running alongside Kenny Powell down the inside. Johnson gives it up. He's now looking to go side by side with Roy Hyde in the run down towards turn number 1. Johnson tried to scare Hyde a little further down the racetrack and did so, but I think Roy Hyde will still get that position here in just a little while.
Yeah, it looks like Roy Hyde's got a pretty good handling car right now, but, you know, battle's not done yet. We've seen a lot of guys getting very good runs up on the top lane, but, I mean, is the tires starting to wear out to where you can't do that quite as much? I mean, we are a good bit of ways into this run now. The only person with the freshest tires out there is Travis Manning.
Still a lot of battles all throughout the order. Paul Regney is the first driver to officially be put a lap down by your race leaders of Boyd Hogan. See him dropping by. There's Boyd Hogan just ripping around the outside line. That big battle that we were watching, it's around a half a lap behind your race leaders at the moment, just to show how much time they've lost. There's not been one lap where this scrimmage has not been side by side, and Wachinski now working on that front line driver, Kyle Labrie. G&G is ready to pounce, and they are all over the back of front line, starting to apply the pressure.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much over now for him. I mean, Kyle Labrie might as well just go ahead and, just give up, considering they have all these guys lined up here to get by. But I mean, it looks like Kenny Powell going to lose out a little bit trying to follow Kyle Labrie. I wish he had been at the bottom there. He might have been able to really, get something out of this. But it looks like his car maybe not handling as well as the other G&G guys.
And Labrie might get some help here, because that car on the inside of Powell is Travis Manning, his frontline teammate. So it looks like it's now going to be an effective frontline versus G&G battle down to the turn number 1. Wachinski pulls ahead for the time being, but look at Travis Manning with a huge head of steam trying to follow suit. Kenny Powell going to take advantage of Kyle Labrie being caught offline by his teammate and is going to try to force the issue down that inside line. Don't discount Roy Hyde, who's still looking to try to work his way back up through the order, but it's Travis Manning up in front, gonna dive one down the inside of Greg Wachinski into turn 1.
And that was kind of what caused his problem to begin with. I mean, look at that. He's definitely on edge, but I mean, he's good at controlling that car like that, which is very surprising. He literally is driving this racetrack like a dirt track.
Caution flag is Will Barlow, I think. No, I don't know if it was Will Barlow. It's Chris Johnson that gets collected in this one. The 48 car gets turned by Brian Littleton. I think it might have been in turn number 4. And Al Kozlowski has damage as well. Did he get collected in all of this?
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see this incident here. I mean, it looks like Brian Littleton kind of already almost had position there. That's really hard to call there. I think that's more of a racing deal there for sure.
And Al Kozlowski just nowhere to go as the G&G teammate came down the track. I mean, Littleton just kind of was on the inside. Johnson was closing the door. By the time it was fully closed, Littleton was already there. And watch the 48 car come down here, and it's that hit there with Al Kozlowski that kind of did him in. And I tell you what, Boyd Hogan was lucky to avoid this as well. Watch him come through here. Just barely scoots around to the outside line. So your race leader almost got collected in this.
Wow, that has got to be scary for your race leader to to have that happen to him. And really, Al suffered the worst damage I think out of everybody there, because he hit that inside wall, and that thing's unforgiving. These cars will bend. That wall will not.
There you see on board with Boyd Hogan having to jerk that wheel hard to the right, and pit stop's underway now. Brian, there is the rule where if a caution happens within 5 laps to go and you can't do a 2-lap sprint to the end of stage, then the stage effectively ends and the caution comes out. But that caution did not come out soon enough. So a lot of these drivers came down to pit road, but the stage isn't over. They're going to have about a 2 or 3 lap sprint to end out stage 1. That means that I believe it's Brian Johnson who's now up in the race lead with McMeekin in second. Boyd Hogan's not going to win this stage.
Yeah, this is definitely, those guys, like you're mentioning, it really needs points, desperation to make it to the round of 6. This is where they need to be shining at in these stages. I mean, try to win the race, of course, but, these are very valuable points.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the points, you need to get whatever you can get, especially right about now. It's 5 points for a stage win, 4.5 for second, 4 for third, 3.5 for fourth, and so on and so forth. It's down to 10th place, who gets just half a point. But we've been seeing some pretty tight gaps, and even drivers tied even to the half a point. So it is absolutely critical that you get whatever kind of points that you can get here. And that battle that we saw was just on the cusp of the top 10. Well, that battle is now going to be for the lead and the win of stage number 1.
Yeah, look at Matthew McMeekum. I mean, whatever strategy he's playing is working out very well for him. I mean, he's up on the outside pole right now. Can he make something happen? I mean, we rarely get to see him really be that competitive. I mean, and Travis Manning right there, you know, in third. This is going to be very interesting restart here.
Lights are still on atop the pace car. And we are now 5 laps to go in the stage. I believe there'll be 3 to go when we take this one green. And that's only about 1 minute of the race before we bring it all to a halt. And your stage winner is official. So this is going to be a really interesting call here, I think it's worth noting. Now, quite a few guys now have a little bit of damage because of all that battling. The question is, how is it all going to shake up now? Do you think we get another caution before the end of the stage? Or do you think we finish this one out green?
That's a very good question. I don't know if I'm at liberty to answer that question. I'm not a soothsayer. I do feel that they probably will wreck, though. If I was going to lean towards something, I would say that they're probably going to have something happen.
Robert Pattengale was ahead of all the leaders that pitted, so he does get his lead lap back. So Robert Pattengale, despite not having the lucky dog, also ends up on the lead lap. Same with Paul Regney, who had the wave round. That leaves Chris Johnson, the only driver is now a lap down. Brian Johnson, your race leader. Matthew McMeekin in second. Travis Manning third. Wachinski in fourth. Powell fifth. Labrie in sixth. Corey Cook at seventh with Craig Johnson in eighth. Boyd Hogan and Justin Levine rounded out the top 10. It's going to be a fierce fight to the end. You got drivers that have got these 35, 40 lap pressure tires, and all the guys up in front. Bound to be an intense one. Pace cars down to pit road. Brian Johnson launches the field. 3 to go in stage 1.
Yeah, I think I saw Kyle Labrie have some issues there. He seems like he got very loose on that start there. A lot of guys, 3 wide.
Boyd Hogan's loose, sliding up in front of Wachinski and manages to recover it. 2 laps to go, coming to the white flag in stage 1. Miscalculated a little bit there. We are going to be on the white flag lap this time by, and there's still 3 wide, deeper in the field, trying to battle for stage points.
Yeah, these guys are definitely battling all out here. I mean, one thing about Boyd is I'm was very curious about how his car handles in traffic. I mean, we've seen him up front the whole entire race, so I mean, it's nice to see that he does have a car that can battle through traffic here.
Kenny Powell gets bumped. It's going to be Brian Johnson, though, winning stage number 1. And what a battle to end stage 1 it was.
Yeah, you had mentioned about how, you didn't think Boyd Hogan could win the stage. I mean, he had the speed, I think. He was about to get there.
Stage 1 is complete. We'll be back with more in just a few moments' time. For now, though, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with more for stage 2 right after this.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at TheButtKicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
Matrix harnesses the power and versatility of the smartphone or tablet and turns it into a powerful input device customized to fit the application you're using. Whether you're looking for a remote control for media player, presentation, or immersive game interface with precisely timed macros, Matrix has you covered. Visit matrixapp.com for details.
Welcome back to more for the MetroGap.com 200 from Richmond Raceway. It was an intense stage 1, and it's about to be an intense stage 2 as well. Going to bring up our stage 1 winner of Brian Johnson. Brian, this is Nolan Rampel up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
I got a copy.
Well, quite the strategy call from you to stay out. You got the stage 1 win, though. Boyd Hogan, though, he was really hunting you down there in those closing laps.
Yeah, it's just a strategy move to get some points. Luckily, we succeeded, and now we're back here in 15th, so we'll fight our way back forward.
What's going to be the plan for stage 2? Rinse and repeat for stage 1. Got you a win after all.
Yeah, keep the car clean, keep the rear tires on it, stay out of trouble.
Sounds like a solid plan for you then. Keep your nose clean. You'll be able to get some solid points at the end of this thing. Well, we know you're a busy guy down there, so we're going to wrap this up here right quick, Brian. But before I let you go, anybody you'd like to shout out for your G&G Racing number 4?
Yeah, shout out to Gas and Go Racing and Southern Spiral Pipe.
Thank you, Brian, for taking the time to join us up here in the broadcast booth. We'll move you back down now. Congratulations on the stage 1 win. Best of luck in stage 2.
Thanks, Nolan.
That was stage 1 winner, Brian Johnson, bringing it home. And my, is it ever bound to be an intense stage number 2?
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be very intense. I'm not sure what to expect here. I feel like these guys probably still hyped up from stage number 1, so we could see an incident early here. We'll have to wait and see. Can these guys get, get it all worked out here? A lot of shuffling through the field. Of course, Boyd Hogan shuffling back to the first spot, but Clayton Hoffman up to second right now.
How about your top 3? Remember how much shuffling there was under those last couple of laps and under that last pit window? Well, Boyd Hogan, Clayton Hoffman, Levine running 1, 2, 3, just where they started, 46 laps and go. How crazy is that?
Very crazy, considering, you got to think, we were watching Roy Hyde battle back there for like 14th and 13th. He's up to 6th right now, so you can see how much this place has been shuffling out. But that top 3 stays pretty much the same.
Talk about Roy Hyde moving all the way up to 6th place. He's also the biggest mover on the day so far, up 13 positions from where he started all the way down to 19th. They're looking to maybe get a top 5 tonight. He's shown that he is capable. Pace car pulls down the pit road. Boyd Hogan getting set to launch the field, this time holding a little bit longer. But we're back on the way with more from the MetroGap.com 200 from Richmond. Stage 2 underway.
Yeah, Clayton Hoffman using that high side to try to get some momentum here. But Justin Levine very quick on the bottom here. I don't know. Yeah, he looks like Hoffman's going to get clear here. That top lane on the restarts, it just seems like it's so good here. I wouldn't even be surprised if a guy like Boyd Hogan would choose the top lane on a restart. It would be advantageous the way it's been looking here tonight. Wouldn't you agree?
The outside line can certainly play a big role in defense, particularly when you get later on into a run. As soon as you get later on and the tire starts to kick in big time, Brian, that's when the inside line doesn't become as advantageous, because not only do you have to, go slower to preserve the tires a bit more, but you also got to be a bit slower on exit because you can't spin the wheels up. Otherwise, you're going to burn the tires off even more and spin your car around as well, which is where the outside line starts to come into play so much. But until that point, bottom line, still the fastest way around.
But look at Clayton Hoffman starting to put it to Boyd right now. He is right up on him. Can he find a way to make a pass here? I do believe that, track position is so important to this racetrack that if he was able to pass Boyd here, he'd have a really good shot at winning this race.
Couldn't agree more. It's one of those tracks where if you can survive the first couple of laps, there's a very good chance that you'll be able to survive for the remainder of the stint, at least, until either the next yellow comes out or the next pit stop cycle comes around. I don't think we're going to be getting any kind of green flag pit stops here, to be perfectly honest with you. Richmond's one of those tracks where the likelihood of green flag pit stops is usually slim to none, but that being said, this league has produced crazier before.
I was about to say, anytime you say that something can't happen, it's probably going to happen. So, you just put the broadcaster's curse. We're going to see some green flag pit stops here tonight.
Won't happen until Stage 3, though. Stage 2 is only not even 40 laps long, only about 35. Field windows are roughly about 75, 78 laps, give or take. So it's not going to be necessarily to the advantage of a lot of these drivers trying to figure out where they're going to be. But you still see Boyd Hogan really being pressured by Clayton Hoffman. Now the question is Boyd Hogan saving, or is Clayton Hoffman working too hard?
That's a very good question. It could really be either one of those. And I kind of feel like it might be Clayton is working a little hard. I feel like, he's working his car a little bit harder than Boyd is right now. I think Boyd just trying to keep him back there. I mean, he's not really trying to work it too hard. I mean, that's why Boyd is such a talented driver. I mean, everybody has seen the amount of talent that Boyd has, and you know, he definitely makes it show.
A frontline competitor, a Road to Pro competitor, don't you forget. In fact, that's where he was just last week when we were at Darlington. He was racing in the Road to Pro series, trying to see if he could work his way up into the Coca-Cola eNASCAR Cup Series. So it's certainly a possibility for him to potentially be working his way on up there. But hey, it's nice to sometimes kick back and do a little bit of Thursday night racing with the boys.
100%. I mean, he has the skill to do it. I mean, I've known Boyd for a little while, and he definitely is very talented. I mean, he builds setups for a lot of those Coke guys, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him up there really racing in there.
Just behind these drivers, the battle still rages for 5th place. Noah Bitts and Josh Shaw have been side by side for quite a while, with Travis Manning back up into the mix of this as well in his number 22 machine. So you got, I think, 3 different teams here, all trying to work at the same time. Shaw has already lost 1 spot this lap. He might even lose 2 if Travis Manning can get his way around the inside through 3 and 4 here.
Yeah, I think Manning's got a really good car underneath him. I mean, he usually is very talented. I mean, we've seen him have some problems and just kind of like, you know, maybe give up on something or something like that. But it seems like he is determined to do well in this race. I mean, he's been struggling a lot lately, I'll be honest with you.
That he has, and I think part of that has to do with the fact that he did have to use that tire set a little early in the race. We're talking lap number 5 when he self-spun to bring out a first caution on the night. And the fact that he only has 1 set remaining means that he's got to be a little bit more conservative with what he has left to make sure he can make it to the end of this race if there are any more yellows and he doesn't get caught out by other drivers on their own little strategies. But the thing is, Travis Manning doesn't look like he's conserving too much right now, as you saw him blaze past not just Noah Bitts, but Josh Schaffner as well.
Yeah, he's up to 5th. He's in the top 5 now. I mean, he's got about a second to get to Chad Sullivan. But, I mean, now that he's clear of these guys, I think he can really be able to open it up a little bit better, maybe be able to even run down 4th place.
Possibility is certainly there, and that's not the only battle on track. Just behind these guys, you mentioned Wayne Grossi, who was having a stellar race just last week. He's having a stellar race tonight as well. 20th place where he started. He is up to 9th, though, inside the top 10, and being pressured for that 9th position by Brian Littleton, along with Matthew McMeekin as well. And speaking of green flag pit stops, how about Will Barlow down on pit lane in his number 15 machine?
Yeah, that's a very interesting call. I'd like to look back and see if something happened there with him. I mean, maybe he had some contact that he had to go down pit road, maybe some required. I don't know what could have caused that.
I know he dropped back quite a few spots on 1 lap, and I saw him get a little bit loose. Maybe he burned the tires off and just had to come down pit road. It's an interesting call, though. I think it's worth noting. Brian Littleton's having a bit of a struggle right now as well. Lost a lot of time to Greg Wyszynski, and is about to be passed by Kenny Powell. You see them just running just behind this group in here. Brian Littleton starting to drop back a little bit more. Now, he started 21st place, and is one of those guys that stayed out, I think, to score some extra stage points in that last stage caution. So he's just kind of dropping back a little bit now and looking a little bit more timid. I think he's not wanting to fight too hard. I mean, hey, you don't really need to fight until later. And there is Roy Hyde, really low on the track, and he has just been disconnected due to packet loss. So technical difficulties.
Oh, man.
And Matthew McMeekin and Clayton Hoffman. What is happening here at
Oh, my
Darlington?
goodness.
That means Mulligan, Roy Hyde, Clayton Hoffman, and Josh Schaffner, and McMeekin all out, along with Christopher Hill, a spotter. What is going on at race?
The
Richmond
pandemonium at Richmond going on right now. That is crazy.
Oh, no.
What could have happened there? That's 5 different guys to have that at the same time. I mean, it's got to be something to do with the server, right? I mean,
that's what I would think. You got one guy, though, that's in the Mid-South, one in the Midwest, one out of Georgia, one out of the Atlantic states. I mean, they're all from different places. That's the most interesting thing, but that's got to be a server failure of some kind. Already, McMeekin, Roy Hyde, Josh Schaffner, and Clayton Hoffman are re-entering the session, but that is huge, particularly for Hoffman, Brian, who, remember, dominated the regular season, and he is now in the cut line after missing round 1 of the playoffs, and, well, he just got disconnected. He is now several laps down as a result.
yeah, I mean, and the thing is, he was right up there battling with Boyd Hogan, too. So, I mean, just so sad to see something like that take place. I mean, that is just unfortunate. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Especially for it to happen, like, all at once like that. 5 people right at the same time. There's no way that's coincidence.
And we're not talking like this happened over the course of 3 laps. They literally all dropped out at pretty much within the same 10 seconds of each other.
Yeah.
And they were perfectly fine up to that point. That has got to be a server failure of some sort, but that is huge for the championship. But the battle's on track. They continue to rage on as, luckily, the rest of the field relatively unaffected. You saw, you're watching right now, Ray Wachinski along with Kenny Powell and Brian Johnson that were looking around for 9th, 8th, and 7th. And then up front, this is Justin Levine, who has now got a free ticket up to P2 as a result. I'm at a loss for words, Brian. I have never seen that. I'm calling these types of races,
I've seen one guy go out. I've seen like one guy. I've never seen 5 in the same span of seconds.
Well, and I've worked endurance races, right? Like the 24-hour ones. I've seen people drop out of connections. I've seen several people drop out. I've never seen something like that, though, where it's been so many people at the exact same time. That's a new one for me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm blown away. I mean, I just don't understand how that could have happened. I mean, it did happen, so there's really no changing it, though. As we see Boyd Hogan building a pretty good lead up here to Justin Levine.
Roy Hyde is back on course. So is McMeekin, Schaffner, and Hoffman. Crucial for Clayton Hoffman. He is 5 laps down and out of the lucky dog spots. The way it sits right now, we're talking he would need 15 cautions, just 20 cautions just for him to be back on the lead lap alone. That is not happening. Effectively, Clayton Hoffman's championship hopes may as well be over.
That is so sad. I mean, he has been such a strong contender all season. I mean, even though I haven't been in here to, broadcast and commentate with you guys for a lot of those races, I mean, I've still heard tell about how good he is, that's for sure. And it just breaks my heart to see all these guys out here, to have that happen to them. A lot of times, I mean, yeah, if it's your equipment, you don't feel quite as bad for the guy. But, I mean, I don't think that was their equipment.
Well, you can't say it was. I mean, you have so many guys have the exact same issue at the exact same time. That's no equipment failure, at least not on the driver's end of things, at least. Cough, cough, iRacing. But that's, I don't know. That's unfortunate, and I don't know what's going to become of that with the championship now. I mean, we're not even talking about like he was, a title contender. He dominated the regular season. If I remember correctly, won the regular season by over 100 points because of how fast he was.
You know what that reminds me of is Kevin Harvick. How he dominated the regular season and then all of a sudden playoff time. Yeah.
One bad race in playoff time, that's all it takes.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, whether it had been him disconnecting like that or him getting involved in a wreck, the results are the same.
6 laps to go in stage number 2. Boyd Hogan has dominated stage 2 so far, and stage 2 has also run caution-free. Justin Levine, 3.2 seconds behind in second place, with lap traffic separating himself and Hogan.
I think this is really a good view of what this next stage is going to look like, if we're going to see green flag pit stops or not. I think they're proving it. They can run green. Oh yeah. There's usually, well, I mean, it's not impossible to run green. It's just that the drivers are usually, they lack the patience overall. And I'm not talking about this league in general. I'm talking about the overall of iRacing. Drivers typically lack the patience to be able to make these races go green. But so far, these guys have been doing just that all day long. Yeah, I mean, especially look at the talent pool we're pulling from. I mean, you got Boyd Hogan, Justin Levine, Travis Manning. I mean, all these guys known around iRacing as being pretty fast drivers. So, I mean, you definitely got a pretty good talent pool to pull from, and all these other guys out here, they deserve to be here. I mean, if they weren't clean drivers, they wouldn't be in here.
And the races we would having wouldn't be nearly as good either, it's worth noting. So, got a lot of these guys out here that, have been doing a great job all season long. They're wanted to do a good job for whatever parts of the season we have left. Boyd Hogan comes around through turn number 4. Pit road now closed. 2 to go in stage 2.
Yeah, I mean, it might actually would be a pretty good idea maybe to do a green flag pit stop right before the state, the caution, or not the caution, but the pit's closed. I mean, it's kind of like a road course thing, but I mean, at a short track like this, it might not actually be that great of an idea, though. I mean, I'm surprised. I kind of wonder if you'd go a lap down.
You would go a lap down, almost guaranteed. You almost go a lap down 1.5 miles, let alone a 3/4 mile short track. Not the best idea on on a short track, shall I say, but on the normal speedways, oh, absolutely, go right for it. And a lot of drivers do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Boyd Hogan coming around turn number 4. The number 96 car wins stage number 2.
He's definitely making Curb proud out there. He's doing really good work out here. I mean, got a 3rd place in the first stage, wins stage number 2. I mean, those guys didn't have that caution to save him this time around. That's for sure.
Stage 2 is complete. We'll take another step away, and we'll be back with more in just a little while.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at TheButtKicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
We are back with iRacing Stock Car Association here for the Richmond Raceway. We are not able to get a hold of Boyd Hogan, your Stage 1 winner. Unfortunately, is not going to be present with us here today. So instead, we'll bring up P2 in Stage number 2. Justin Levine joins us up in the broadcast booth. Justin, it's position 2 for you in Stage 2, but I imagine not quite the way you were hoping you'd be able to get it.
Nah, the car's balance isn't there. Trying my hardest to keep the right rear under me, but we'll keep working at it. Hopefully we can figure something out.
Well, hey, a P2 finish still is not bad at all for you. I was P2 now in both stages back-to-back, if I'm correct in saying. So what's the plan for stage number 3? I'd imagine a podium finish is not out of the question.
Just keep doing what I'm doing. Try to make the car better. We're probably going to have to stop here one more time. Hopefully that this adjustment works. If not, try one more time.
Well, then here's the opening. Obviously, green flag pit stops are a possibility, but I imagine you're not going to be really eager, shall we say, to give away some of the team's secrets on what the strategy could be.
Yeah, not yet. Honestly, I don't even have a game plan yet. We're going to see what happens with the car first and see how long we can go on the tank of fuel here.
Play it by ear, such is the way of short track racing. Well, Justin, as always, it's a pleasure. Before we move back down, though, who you got to shout out for that number 19 Frontline Ford Mustang?
Got to shout out to all the people at Frontline that helped make this set this week. They did a great job. We're still working on it, but doesn't matter. All the effort still counts. And Bruiser Racewear for sponsoring us.
Thank you, Justin, for taking the time to come on up here and give us a check. Congratulations on a Stage 2P number 2. That makes P2 from both stages. And well, moving back down to your channel, and best of luck going forward in the rest of the race.
Thanks.
That was Justin Levine coming home in P number 2 for stages 2 and 1. The frontline driver looking to do good work as always throughout the course of the night.
I really think this is when the race truly begins, Nolan.
Understatement of the year, I would assume. Stage number 3 getting underway, and unfortunately the grid is not as you would hope. One lap to go, though, and some guys like Lathan Hoffman, they've unfortunately got a lot of work ahead of them.
Yeah, actually a lot of guys a lap down right now. 17th, Chris Johnson a lap down, Paul Regney, Robert Pattengale, Roy Hyde, Matthew Meekum, Josh Schaffner, as we see the pace car going down pit road.
Hogan holds the field, waits for the tap from Travis Mannion. We are back on the way for the final 120 laps or so of racing here at Richmond.
And I gotta say, what a start there from Travis Manning. I mean, he shot out of a cannon there on that restart.
He's the one that gave the bump to Boyd to start the session off, so Boyd Ogill looking to go back to work and potentially pick up a win for the MatrixGap.com 200 here at the Richmond. They're behind! Grossi gets spun! Corey Cook goes with them down to the inside line! Do they save it? They somehow do! We don't have a yellow flag, but it's a huge save for Corey Cook and Wayne Grossi in the background.
Wow,
What a
what
slide.
a wreck. Almost could
Oh my
have ended in
gosh.
disaster there.
Talk about a heart-stopper moment. It was contact with Brian Johnson to kick this off as well, and Howard did not have a yellow flag. I think that's the question we are all asking ourselves right about now.
What a way to recover from Wayne Grossi. I mean, he was able to get right back going to what he needs to do, but I mean, that 00 Al's looking pretty fast tonight, to be honest with you.
Put himself up into the top 10, trying to run down Wayne Grossi, taking a bit of a tight line into turn number 1. Trying to fend off as well. The Reaper Speedless machine of Chad Sullivan is right behind him. Even further back, you see Chris Johnson working on Cecil Keith. Now, Chris Johnson, he's a lap down. He's trying to remain on the lucky dog spot over Robert Pattengale. Still working on each other down through turn number 2. Up front, there's Al Kozlowski. Finally caught Wayne Grossi and goes down the inside line of the 7 car. Into turn number 3. Here comes Sullivan. Gonna make it 3 wide on the exit of turn number 4. And Al gets squeezed out from the middle.
Wow, what a race. I mean, you don't see that just anywhere. Probably only in the ISCA. I mean, look at that. This guy's able to go 3 wide like that. Looked like anything could have happened there, and they were able to make it through clean. So, I mean, really, shout out to all those guys in that those 3 there. I mean, Chad Sullivan, Wayne Grossi, and Al.
Chris Johnson's in pit road, and he has taken his car to the garage. The 48 car had a small slide and a spin on the front straightaway about 2 laps ago, and that sees him tumbling now out of the top 10 and out of the race as well. That's another spot made for all the drivers now that have lost a position or multiple positions, and in fact laps, due to that little server crash that we had in the middle of stage number 2. Hey, one more spot at this point. I'm not sure they're going to be complaining about it.
No, not at all. I mean, they're gonna definitely, they're probably gonna be hoping for more, some more attrition, something to happen, maybe a big accident or something like that. It might not be able to get, onto the lead lap, but if some guys get enough damage, you could get some positions. I mean, you hate to wish that, but sometimes when you're out there racing, you kind of do.
Kozlowski back down the inside of Grossi, out of turn 2. That 00 machine is definitely the faster of this pairing, but look at the run that Grossi gets out of turn number 2. Kozlowski back down the inside into 3, side by side with the number 7 car, but that 7 car ripping the top line high, wide, and handsome.
You mentioned it earlier. I mean, that really is the best defending line. I mean, running that high line, the guy that is on the bottom cannot get a good run because he has to, really be really good on throttle control to avoid hitting you.
The 00 machine still trying to work at it. I think he's going to have to tuck in line, though. Keeps looking to the inside and trying to make these dives, but the problem is whenever he tries to do that, he has to slow up so much just to make the corner, and it just doesn't work. He's got to try to get right up to the back bumper, make the look, and then send one down the inside to maybe scare Grossi up the racetrack a little bit. But the current strategy... Go ahead.
That's really the idea. I mean, yeah, that's exactly right. You want to play a little bit of mind games with him. Maybe fake him out. Make him think you're going somewhere you're not.
Oh, exactly. Because the current strategy, I mean, you can tell, it just isn't working. He can get there, but he doesn't have the speed on corner X to be able to complete the pass. Look at Grossi going defensive!
Oh!
The bump and run to turn number 3. Grossi slides to the track. Here comes Al up the inside, and Grossi the outside wall. That's going to collect 2, 3 drivers. Cecil Keith collected. Roy Hyde somehow squeaks through by the skin of his teeth.
Ryan Littleton definitely got some of that.
Oh, yeah. Big crash out of turn number 4. Not the way that battle wanted to end at all. And that was a big mess on the front straightaway. It all started coming into turn number 3 when Wayne Grossi tried to block Al. Al gave a bit of a bump down into turn number 3. Grossi comes back down. As Labrie comes up, they meet in the middle. And it's on from there. Now watch this here with one of these cars right around the outside line. Right there with Roy Hyde.
Wow, look at Roy, just threading the needle. And this is what these guys needed. Those guys that got, kind of, had the bad, end of the deal there with that server issue. That's the kind of things that's going to give them a little bit of hope out here. Wouldn't you say, Nolan?
I would certainly say so. That's not the way we wanted to see one battle end, but where one battle ends, no doubt another will begin. And if there's ever a track where you can go and get some good old retaliation, Richmond's could have played Vicinity, I would say.
Yeah, I'll say that whole incident worked out really well for Al. Kozlowski for sure. It worked out very well for him. But if Wayne gets behind Al on this next restart, could end up badly for him. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, this is one thing about short track racing that makes it so much fun. I mean, even though it kind of is malicious in a way, I mean, it's short track racing. Isn't that right, Nolan?
And short track racing, you're going to make contact. These races are never as clean as the traditional, racing that we typically see on the speedways nowadays. And like you said, it's short track racing. It's going to happen. Tempers will start to flare. Mistakes are made. And it's one of those cases, a block was thrown and an attempt was made at the bump and didn't quite pan out, I think, the way either driver wanted that to.
Well, I mean, one really smart person once told me, when it comes to, if you block someone, that person that you're blocking has to agree to that. And, of course, it looks like Al didn't agree at all, and you saw how that worked out,
I think the fact that he didn't agree is a little bit of an understatement, to be completely frank with you.
I mean, you have to come to an agreement. I mean, it's mutual. I mean, if two beings cannot, hold the same space.
Well, we are just over halfway. We'll take a quick stop and we'll run through the field with the ButtKicker midway race break. Boyd Hogan, your current leader so far, started up on pole position. Travis Manning is in second place with Greg Wachinski. Check that. Justin Levine up in third. And Wachinski goes back up to third. Time is screen at the little funky formula. So Levine is in fourth place with Neil Bitts in fifth. Chad Sullivan sixth with Al Kozlowski in seventh. Corey Cook is in eighth. Robert Pattengill in ninth. Brian Johnson down in 10th. Pattengill going to the back. He was the lucky dog on this last caution flag. That moves Cecil Keith to 11th. It'll be Wayne Grossi to 12th. Pattengill sits back at 13th. Randy Drumhiller still in pit road. Down at 14th for the time being with Labrie still in his pit stall in 15th. Paul Reddy is 16th with Littleton 17th. Roy Hyde in 18th. Craig Johnson 19th. Matthew McNeek and Clayton Hoffman, Josh Shovner, and Chris Johnson. All drivers caught out from the server crash earlier on, and 20th all the way back to 23rd with Connor Mulligan 24th. Will Barlow is in 25th. Seth Hollander still has not taken to the racetrack, 103 laps down. Want to give a shout out as well to ButtKicker for helping to keep the lights on here at the Ironton Stock Car Association. Don't forget to get a 20% discount on all ButtKicker products by using the code ISCA20 at thebuttkicker.com. That's ISCA20 at thebuttkicker.com. for 20% off on all ButtKicker products. Pace car lights are out. We're ready to go back racing.
Yeah, just while you were doing the rundown there, I noticed Brian Littleton, you could see how bad that wreck was there. He's out of the race car.
Yes. Another driver getting claimed by Richmond Raceway, and that doesn't really surprise me. Littleton had a pretty significant hit in that wreck. Shout-outs as well to the guys that are still, in fact, racing as a result. Pace car's off. Hogan leads them back to green.
And what another good restart from Boyd Hogan. But I feel like Travis was a little bit wise to it. I mean, he seems like he's got a good bit of momentum here.
Just over halfway. Going to be 95 laps left to go. This time by at the line. It's been an intense race so far. And if you like the racing you see, well, don't forget to like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitch and like us on Facebook. And we'll be happy to have you with us on a Thursday night, every Thursday night, with more stock car racing action, just like what you are seeing here. Battles on for fourth and third, with Chad Sullivan trying to poke around Justin Levine and knock him out of the podium for the first time tonight.
Yeah, Chad Sullivan's been in fourth all day long, literally, and now he's trying to fight to get into the top three. He said, "I'm done sitting in fourth. I want this top three," and he's definitely trying to make that happen. But you got a really hungry 87 of Noah Bitts back there. I mean, that 87 has been fast all night long.
We saw the bump and run once already tonight. The potential for it is very, very real, especially as we get closer and closer to the end of this race. The track temperature has cooled significantly as well, making the track more racy as well. 79 degrees Fahrenheit compared to the 76 in the air. Winds are still pretty calm, only 6 miles an hour off to the east. So that does mean that this is a track that is ripe for the picking when it comes to drivers wanting to get a little bit physical with each other.
Yeah, I doubt any car is going to be clean by the end of this, this gauntlet of a race for sure. I mean, Richmond seems like it just chews these cars and spits them out for sure. I mean, for what we've seen so far out of the attrition, I'm definitely excited to see how this goes here. Is look at that. We see Chad Sullivan starting to work on Travis Manning. Woo. Wow, he's going to take second away here. Chad Sullivan he must have been working on that race car. I mean, he has had to, really make some adjustments to it to make it this good, because whatever he did is working.
You saw Manning was really leaning on the door there as Sullivan was finding the way through. And don't forget, Bits is going to go down the inside and try to pick up second place. And this is all not boding well for Boyd Hogan. If they can keep this close up to Hogan while they're going side by side for all these positions for so many laps, what do you think the pace is going to be like when they get clear? Hogan's likely looking in his mirror, watching all this really closely. Look at Sullivan leading out the door. Noah Bits through 1 and 2. Oh, and Manning's the outside wall. Cook scrambles, and so does Brian Johnson, as well as Justin Levine.
Yeah, that was close. That could have very well been an incident for sure. But Travis Manning definitely not getting the best, thing out of that. Brian Johnson going to gain a spot there.
And there wasn't any contact for that. That was a classic case, Brian, of just spinning out the wheels too much on corner exit, overcorrecting and slamming it back to the outside wall. The good news is nobody else got involved and nobody spun around fully, so they get away with that one, and we remain green flag racing for the time being. The battle is still on for second place, a good distance up now, and steadily running down Boyd Hogan, the race leader.
Yeah, Chad Sullivan is looking very fast right now. I mean, like I said, I have no clue what he did to his car. I'm sure that they keep that a good secret. But I'm pretty sure whatever he did, we might need to, get them with the inspection after this race.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time that a driver has come with a big head of steam, especially towards the end of a race. And this race is far from over as well. I wonder if Boyd Hogan is saving a little bit here, trying to see if he can potentially save a couple of tire sets for later on. Sullivan, though, and it's like all the advantage of the extra speed now that he can. And sooner or later here, he's going to be right there with Boyd Hogan. Now, both cars running Reaper Speed Labs logos on them, so I wonder how much they're really going to be willing to battle with each other. They're running very similar setups, I would imagine.
Yeah, for sure. But one thing that Boyd, I think, is the reason he's suffering very much is last time he pitted was on lap 83. The guys that are right behind him, they pitted on lap 101.
That's a good point. Good catch. I didn't even notice that. Well, yeah, the fresher tires, they'll definitely do that to you.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, I luckily I have something that tells me that information. So I give it credit more than me.
Sullivan's close. He looks to the inside, and it will make the lunge on Boyd Hogan down into turn number 1. The 96 car trying to see if he can hang with Sullivan. Don't think he'll be able to. Noah Bits also goes through. Boyd Hogan kicked off of his throne down to the turn 3.
You know what's really good, though? I mean, very impressive, though. I mean, Boyd has been still managing to stay out in front of these guys for this long. I mean, if he's, tires mean a lot here at this racetrack. He was still able to manage to save something there. I mean, he's still right there in third. We'll see what he could do later once they actually do have this pit stop.
Saw Sullivan get a little bit loose there, potentially burning this stuff up early on. That's closing up the gap to Noah Bits. So this battle for the lead, it ain't over just yet. That 87 car is still looking hungry for more, and he's getting closer and closer with every slide into the braking zone.
You gotta love every bit of this too. I mean, this is the kind of racing you don't get to see a lot of times. So I mean, this is rare. This is some good racing right here. Chad Sullivan, I mean, all these guys are showing up. They're like, I'm not gonna let this Boyd guy win.
Well, it's pure racing. There's no draft involved in any of this. It is all about how you handle the car and how you handle the power your car has underneath you. And that's why I love short track races so much. It is all about the driver. And Noah Bits wanted to prove that he is better than Chad Sullivan on this run. The catch lap traffic of Robert Pangill and Paul Regney Looks like someone will go to the inside line. Could no bit potentially use the capitalize. Getting a bit closer, thinking about the bumper maybe.
Yeah, like you said earlier, I mean, it is a little too early to be using that bumper just yet, unless you get really frustrated with following someone. I don't think I think the chrome horn should be kind of something almost like nuclear weapons. You don't use them often.
Well, that being said, I'm not sure who said, but it's a statement I would agree with, and the statement reads like this. If your car is clean at the end of a short track racing, you haven't been racing hard enough.
That's about like Darlington last week. I mean, if you hadn't hit that wall, you hadn't raced at Darlington.
Sums up Martinsville in a nutshell, doesn't it?
I think it sums up every difficult racetrack out there, and I think short tracks are difficult. I mean, I think that's why a lot of people don't really care for them. I mean, they like those speedways. I mean, of course, super speedways are fine, but I mean, you gotta go back to the roots sometimes.
I've personally always been a fan of short track racing. I find it to be a much greater challenge. You don't need to be running at 200 plus miles an hour in order for a race to be exciting. And short tracks are a perfect example of that.
100%. I agree totally.
Bits is getting closer.
Oh yeah, Bits was right up to his rear end there, like inches, I'd say, away from actually making contact there.
And just behind, Boyd Hogan is still keeping with this group here. I think he might be waiting. Oh, boy. It's going to take one bit of wheel spin for Chad Sullivan, and I know Bits is going to be all over him. The only reason why Bits hasn't gotten there yet is because look at how close he gets on entry. He just can't capitalize on the exit of the corners yet. So that's all he's waiting on at the moment, is to get that run that he needs on corner exit. The also notice here is taking that wider arc. That's saving him a little bit more tire life.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say that Chad Sullivan's way better on the exit of the corner than Noah is. Noah just really gains up on him in the entry. I mean, but that's prime real estate for that bump and run, though. I mean, if you're really good on the entry, you can at least get up to his bumper. You could make something happen later in this race.
And you're never going to be able to properly go for a bump and run on corner exit unless the guy in front of you really messes up. A bump and run is all about corner entry.
Yeah, I mean, you send it in. You just send it in a little bit harder. That's it. You're good to go.
Look who else is coming up behind. Clayton Hoffman looking to retake another lap. That would only put Hoffman 3 laps down. Still not nearly enough to win the race, but it would be enough that he might be able to put himself up another couple of positions should Craig Johnson and Roy Hyde fall out.
I mean, we've talked about how desperate of a situation this is for him to get into the playoffs. Any position he can grab right now is going to help him.
No denying that for sure. And yeah, you're probably wondering why we're focusing up on this battle for the time being. Sure, they're side by side elsewhere, but it is between cars that are a lap down and guys on the lead lap. This is one of the only battles for position out on course. The only other one is between G&G teammates Greg Wachinski and Kenny Powell. That's all the way back at 8th and 9th place. This is the battle to watch at the moment. You got two different teams, and they're both looking to scrap away for the race lead, but I think Chad Sullivan's looking a little bit more secure now, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, this is one thing about, I say it time and time again in every broadcast I'm ever a part of. It's one thing to catch someone. It's another thing completely to pass. I mean, I think that's what Noah's really learning right now.
Yeah, you can stay with him as much as you want, but may as well be all the way at the back if you can't go and actually try to get the move done. I think Bits is still driving a little bit more conservatively here. I think he'd be sending it in a little bit harder if he knew how little time there was left in the race, or if there was even less time left in the race. He's still got 70 laps for him to make this spot up, and keep in mind, reflight pit stops is still something we have to watch out for as well.
Yeah, 100%. And one thing we really should shout out, or one person I should say, is Boyd Hogan. I mean, he's still 9/10 back from the leader right now, and he is on almost 20 lap older tires than these guys are.
And you like Clayton Hoffman through, who's a lap car. So all of that, and Boyd Hogan is still only about a second or so off of this battle for the lead. I'm telling you, he is saving what he can right now. You did see Cecil Keith in the number 33 car. He was down at 13th place. He was just put one lap down by your race leaders. So that is going to be pretty effective, and I thought maybe that could have an impact as to how this battle for the lead plays out, but in fact it didn't. Sullivan is looking to continue to extend that gap. Looks like this battle is dying off just for now.
Yeah, definitely chilling out a little bit here is Chad Sullivan definitely getting himself a little bit of breathing room as he's able to really, maximize that exit speed. I think Richmond is one of those racetracks, I mean, you really have to have good exit speed and, wide arcs to really make this track work.
Got cars there also looking to go side by sides elsewhere throughout the field, but none of them for position at the time being. So once again, this battle for the race lead is pretty much the only fight we actually got out there. You're not missing much elsewhere on the track. And oh no, not again for Clayton Hoffman. Just got kicked out for a second time. That is insult to injury at this point.
Yeah, I hate it for. I mean, that is heartbreaking, especially with how well he has done. I mean, I think he's earned a shot at a championship here. But that's just one of the disadvantages of the playoff point system. I mean, you gotta love it in some regards. It makes it more intense, more variables. But then again, sometimes it makes you think, that guy deserves to have that chance.
Oh dear. With Hoffman no longer in the way, Boyd Hogan's looking to pounce potentially down the inside of Noah Bitts. Gonna retake that second position. Boyd's done waiting. He pounced in that second place, but here goes Noah Bitts with a cutback. The crossover for the 87 car into turn number 3. Is this enough to potentially try to hold the position? Don't think it'll be enough. I think Boyd Hogan is still gonna hold over it.
I mean, just like you said, I mean, that top lane's good at defending, and Boyd knows how to use that. I mean, wow, just how quick he is right now. I mean, I think even though he has such older tires, I think he really has just been holding back here. I think he's been saving those things, keeping them, nice and fresh. That way, whenever he needs to capitalize, he can do it, because he is chasing down Chad Sullivan right now.
You can make up all the spots you want on the early stage of a run, but you got to make sure that you can hold on to those spots later on in the run, or you are in for a bad time, and that appears to be exactly the problem that Chad Sullivan's facing at the moment. He worked so hard to get that lead and keep that 87 car no bits at bay, and now he is steadily losing ground back to Boyd Hogan. Compare the lap times this time by a 22.837 for Sullivan, 22.757 for Boyd Hogan. He's about a tenth of a lap quicker every single time consistently.
Yeah, and one thing about, Richmond here, I mean, Boyd's at that point right now that he's plateaued already, to where, he's not really seeing a lot more tire wear, and I think that's what's really giving him the strength to be able to run down Chad right now.
Couldn't agree with you more. I mean, he's already used to running on the old tires. Sullivan, maybe not so much. So Hogan knows how to handle this thing already, and every time lap traffic comes across, it's going to, impact things a little bit more. And, well, remember how I mentioned that Hogan let through Clayton Hoffman the last time by? Well, guess who the next lap car up the road is?
Well, it looks like Chris Johnson. Oh, I'm sorry.
That would be Hoffman. Yeah, that would be Hoffman up in front of them. Just came out of pit road a lap ago.
I bet he's got to be feeling some type of way. I mean, I think I'd be pretty upset.
You don't say.
If I was him. I mean, I just,
Yeah, I couldn't say I'd blame him. I'd feel the exact same way. Look at Hogan, though, with a huge run out turn 4. Took a wide arc. That's going to be enough. Makes the lunge into turn number 1. Boyd Hogan goes back to the point.
I feel like he's that predator that is literally just playing with his prey right now.
Sullivan thought about it. You saw that 21 car wiggle around a little bit. He thought about making the lunge and going for a bump, but Hogan had him, and Hogan will retake the race lead. That was genius. I thought Boyd Hogan just missed his breaking point, to be honest, how far wide he swung. Turns out he was just lying in wait.
Now, he was going to slingshot out of that corner. I mean, he wound that car up and was ready to go. And, oh, my word. It's always something to see, Boyd do the things he's doing. But, I mean, you can see the difference in tire wear, though, as we see Travis Manning coming up through the field here. He pitted on lap 141, so he has relatively new tires here.
And green flag pit stops are underway. Kyle Abria's in. Greg Wachinski's in. Kenny Powell just came down. So did Travis Manning. So the window for green flag pit stops is definitely open. You come down now, you're going to have enough fuel to make it to the end of the race guaranteed. So you would want to come in, I'd imagine, as soon as you could to get those fresh tires, get on out there, and lose as little time as possible in these pit stops. But some of these guys, like Boyd Hogan, I think they might try to push as long as they can in hopes that a caution comes out with some of the other guys that are still coming in and out of pit road.
And even if the caution didn't come out, it really didn't hurt you that much to wait, because, I mean, the amount of, the amount of time you'll be on those new tires is a little bit, more increased there. I mean, you'll just be able to run that much faster than those guys that, try to short pitch you, I'd say. I don't know. It could go either way. I mean, I've seen both strategies work. It just really depends on the driver behind it and how they do on entrance to pit road and exit.
Currently, there are only 7 drivers on the lead lap. Those guys are Boyd Hogan, Chad Sullivan, Noah Bitts, Corey Cook, Brian Johnson, Randy Drumhiller, and Al Kozlowski. Everybody else behind them has either come down pit road, is yet to come down pit road, or they have already, come down pit road as a result and are lapped down that way. Some drivers are just laps down by default. I'd imagine among those is Cecil Keith, along with Wayne Grossi. They're just so far back. Justin Levine, I think, pitted about 23 laps ago. He made a very early stop, but that was because of a bit of a hit to the back end. I'm missing a lot of damage on the back end, honestly, of the 19 cars. Like, he's had a bit of a slam with either the wall or, more likely, another car somewhere on track. He is still trying to recover, and he's got 50 laps to do so.
That's unfortunate for him. I mean, we just talked to him at the end of that last stage, so that is so unfortunate.
Boyd's in. He's in pit road. Your race leader gives it up to Chad Sullivan. Boyd couldn't go much further, and he is now down pit road. Brian Johnson also comes in just behind him.
I think that's a good time for Boyd to, really pit. I mean, 50 laps. I mean, that's a pretty good little. It's shorter run than what he's already done. I mean, even though he has had cautions to separate, some of these, runs here, but I mean, he went from 83 to 150. So I mean, you got to give him some credit there.
Chad Sullivan and Noah Bitts were running 1-2 after that. They've also come down pit road. So that's the battle for the lead effectively between Sullivan and Hogan. Now, where do they come out in relation? Boyd Hogan spent 39 seconds on pit road. So Boyd Hogan coming around through 3 and 4 now. That's the battle I'm going to watch. He's got some traffic he's got to work through to work his way up there. Chad Sullivan and Noah Bitts are still in their pit stalls coming around through turn 4 now. And now out of their pit stalls, but it's not going to be in time. Boyd Hogan has got them, and he has gapped them by several seconds.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have to be almost like a soothsayer to be able to know when to pit here at this racetrack. I mean, it's any racetrack, to be honest with you. I mean, it's almost like a gut feeling when you should pit. And, Boyd just had that gut feeling. He pitted it at just the perfect time and short pitted these guys. And, just by 1 lap, too, and how much of a gap that put on.
On top of that, he actually stayed on the lead lap throughout all of that. The driver that's right behind Boyd Hogan right now, 2 cars back, that's the race leader, Corey Cook. So Hogan also managed to stay on the lead lap somehow throughout all of that. That is legendary for the number 96 car. I didn't think it was possible. I think it might have passed him back on the out lap, to be honest with you. But hey, that's still mighty impressive. Considering if the caution came out then, that would have been perfect timing for him.
Well, I mean, especially in a track like this, I mean, you're almost guaranteed to go a lap down here. So, I mean, the way he was able to, apparently rules don't exist to Boyd Hogan.
Still waiting for a lot of these drivers to come down pit road, particularly Wayne Grossi still needs to come down. So does Corey Cook and Al Kozlowski. I think Levine will need to make one more stop. It might be tight for him on fuel. I think he might be able to make it, but wouldn't be an easy run to say the least. Look back at Chad Sullivan. He is going 4 wide on the front straightaway with lap traffic all around, trying to find a way through. And guess who's right behind him? Noah Bitts is ready to party again.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get to see that. That would have been a really cool thing to see, but, it all worked out well, I hope, Nolan, right?
Oh, it did. They managed to squeak their way through, and now Sullivan's looking to pull the gap away. Corey Cook is down to pit road. That puts Al Kozlowski up into the lead for the first time all day long. Of course, the 00 not going to be staying there once he comes down pit road as well. And like I said, I don't know quite what Justin Levine's situation is looking like. I think he might be able to make it. He's been out there for 33 laps already. You got 44 to go. That's about 77-ish laps that you'll be able to make it out there. That's right on the cusp of the fuel window, so he might be on fumes. The problem for him is the fact that he is on really old tires. Hogan's on freshies. To put it into perspective, Justin Levine, the last time by, was 3.5 seconds away from Boyd. This time round, 1.8.
Yeah, it's definitely changing very fast for him. And also he's got that damage. I don't think that rear end damage is affecting him that much, but it could be mess with how his tires are orientated or whatever. But I feel like this is a low downforce package, so I don't feel like rear end damage really would affect him that much. But I mean, he definitely is going to have to do something here to keep Boyd from catching him here. I don't know what you can do, to be honest with you.
That's the thing. You can't do anything. He's just that much slower because he is on old tires. It was a 22.7 last time by for Justin Levine, a 22 dead for Hogan. Wow, getting past lap traffic. That just shows how much quicker Boyd Hogan is. And we take a look up to him, and you can see him right now. He is all over Justin Levine. He's going to be by him by the end of the lap here. Coming out of the back straightaway down into turn number 3. Hogan decides to be patient. That's wise on the 96 car. Going to take the saver and take this one around the outside line. But sure enough, there's a pass for the race lead. Boyd Hogan back to the sharp end of the field.
Yeah, he's definitely shown that he is the best car out there by far. And, Justin's been doing a great job for sure. But, I mean, we've seen Boyd. He's able to really conserve those tires anyway. So, I mean, I feel like he's in the best position to really get this thing done. Wouldn't be surprised to see a large gap in between him and second place here shortly, too, considering just how good he's done so far.
So the pit window mostly complete. Just a few drivers are left, but everybody that we were focusing up on from the likes of Sullivan, Biss, Manning, Hogan, Levine, and more, they have already made their last pit stops, at least their last scheduled pit stops on the day. Tell you what, Brian, why don't we take a step back? We'll give our voices a bit of a rest here, and we'll be back with more in just a few moments. Well, you might have noticed that the drivers are on pit road, and they're going a lot slower, and there's also a yellow banner on the top left of your screen. Caution flag was out, came out literally just after we went to commercial break there. It was Al Kozlowski in a single car spin, but that has brought a lot of guys now down pit road, and you saw the replay right there, losing it by himself, going for a lazy slide in turn 4, almost identical to what happened to Travis Manning early on. Speaking of Travis Manning disconnected from the race session. Not sure why, but he has parked his car and taken it to the garage. Not involved in the incident. Here's another look at it. Al on cold tires right out of pit road. Just nicks that yellow line. That's all it took for that 00 to go right around. And on cold tires, it's a very, very easy mistake to make, especially at a short track. It's unfortunate, but hey, these things happen. So Boyd Hogan has come back down pit road. So has a lot of guys behind him. Chad Sullivan, though, along with Noah Bitts, Kyle Labrie, Brian Johnson, and Corey Cook, have all elected to stay out. Justin Levine, who we thought might just be on the fumes, he's also down pit road. He'll have fresh tires behind. It's going to be one crazy restart.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree. This is going to be a wild restart here. A little bit different in tires here. But, then again, we've seen, Boyd Hogan, stayed out like 20 laps later than these other guys. So, I think he's in good shape. Chad Sullivan, if he can really get it together here, he could hold these guys off, though. And Noah Bitts has been very fast.
I'm honestly more surprised about Travis Manning leaving. I'm going to be completely honest with you. He was running a phenomenal race so far. He started up in 4th place. He was consistently running in the top 10 all day long and just disconnected by himself almost right after the caution came out. I don't know what to make of that, to be honest with you.
Could very well have been some type of emergency, or I don't know. I mean, I don't want to assume that something happened, but I'm not sure why he would leave like that. That's definitely not a good call for him, considering how strong he's been.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. Hopefully, though, whatever is the case, it's looking fine, and he should, hopefully be able to, come back strong next week. So we're under caution again, and this time around, if I'm doing this math correct, we'll be coming back with 31 laps to go. Should be an interesting one.
Yeah, this is that caution is definitely going to change this entire game here. I mean, really, it's given new life to some of the other guys that really maybe not had much of a chance later. I mean, I feel like these guys are really going to put on a good show from here.
Chad Sullivan, your race leader, stayed out along with Noah Bitts, Labrie, Brian Johnson, and Corey Cook. Those are the drivers that stayed out into this last caution. With Boyd Hogan, the first driver, fresh tires, going to be lining up behind him outside row number 3 with Levine. The driver thought might be a little bit on the danger side on fuel. Now well to the good on fuel and with a fresh set of Goodyears. So Justin Levine will be looking to make a bit of an impression, shall I say. Pace car down to pit road. It's been the Boyd Hogan show for restarts. Sullivan spins the tires immediately as he gets on the power. That checks the whole field up. Somehow they don't rack. They're 3 wide, almost 4 wide for the race lead coming down to the turn 1.
Yeah, I figured this was how Boyd Hogan would handle this. I mean, look at that. He has got such a good run right now, able to clear Brian Johnson and Kyle Labrie. Greg Wojcinski loses it down on the yellow.
Oh, and they're still about to rack up in front, too. One car goes the outside wall as well. It's Robert Pagno that connects to the outside barriers. He managed to save, but they're still 3 wide up in front with guys in Kyle Labrie trying to hang on. Levine pulls around the outside line. Meanwhile, Hogan goes back to the point, makes the dive on Noah Bitts. It's a crazy restart, the wildest one so far. With 30 laps to go, making 29. Boyd Hogan is back up to the front in no time.
Yeah, look at another big mover there. Kenny Powell working his way up to 7th here. He's been passing several guys, able to get past Kyle Labrie right now.
There's one of those drivers that came down to pit road for fresh tires, working on Corey Cook. That's going to put the 24 car now up to P number 6. And trying to run down his G&G teammate, Brian Johnson, one of the few drivers that did not pit under these last yellow flag pit stops.
I think Kenny Powell's looking to get a top 5. I think he's about to get it.
Oh, boy. Powell's looking for it.
He ain't going to be able to tell him nothing after this.
Well, and these are 2 G&G teammates, so no doubt they're communicating this as well, that Powell's on fresh rubber. And sure enough, Brian Johnson's going to make that very easy for Kenny and let him on through. So the 24 car gets a free pass up there into 5th place. Now he'll be clear to try to run down Chad Sullivan and Noah Bitts, trying to maybe take a podium.
I think he's got everything to be able to do this. I mean, he's got the right, circumstances here. I mean, he's definitely on some of the freshest tires out there. I mean, Boyd Hogan and Justin definitely are on the same tires that he is. But I think he can get by Noah Bitts. I mean, Noah Bitts has been very fast, though, so I think it is going to be somewhat of a challenge, though, wouldn't you say?
It certainly will be, especially now that Boyd Hogan and Justin Levine are looking to run away. But don't discount Justin Levine. He still is within a shot to potentially get a race win today. That frontline driver has steadily tried to close the gap up on Boyd Hogan, and he has been able to try to work out with him. It has not been close enough to go for the pass. Looking further back again. Kenny Powell now really applying the pressure here to Chad Sullivan.
Yeah, Justin Levine staying pretty close to Boyd, but I mean, Boyd is starting to separate a little bit here.
Kenny Powell made that pass on Chad Sullivan for 4th, and it was oh so close. Forced the issue while Sullivan tried to slam the door shut out of turn number 4, but Powell was there, and he did not give. So Kenny Powell moves up to 4th, trying to see if he can run down Noah Bitts now for 3rd. Even behind these guys, they're also battling for 7th place, 3 wide with Corey Cook, Josh Schaffner, and Brian Johnson. Schaffner, a lap car down the inside, 3 wide into turn number 1. Corey Cook leaning on the door, trying to keep Brian Johnson at bay. Johnson's going to make the pass up though for 6th place. Oh, and here comes Al Kozlowski with a huge dive to the inside. Now, these are lap cars here that are 2 laps down, trying to work their way past lead lap traffic.
Yeah, this has got to be very scary for some of these guys that are on the lead lap. I'm like, probably questioning, why are these guys racing so hard?
Oh, it's an intense fight. It's also an intense fight up there for P number 3. Kenny Powell has caught Noah Bitts and is trying to complete the pass out of turn 4. Gave him a bit of a tap in the entry to turn 4 and is able to get a run out of turn 4 and potentially have a run down into turn number 1. Bitts takes the wider arc. He'll probably try to dive in back here and get the run, and that's going to work for him. Noah Bitts with the driver on the outside line, but Powell ain't done fighting yet.
Yeah, Noah Bitt's definitely an expert on running that high side. He's doing a great job up there keeping that momentum. But I think it's only, a matter of time. I think Kenny Powell's got Noah.
I think you're right. It's only a matter of time here. Chad's always looking to close the gap as well, so you got to watch for him. Noah Bitts and Powell still side by side for 2 full laps now. Powell looking to chase Bitts up the racetrack in turns 3 and 4. Wanted to get a run for himself. I think he'll take it here in turn 1.
Yeah, I feel like Powell has a lot more room to really, go higher in these, on these straightaways to really maximize his momentum. But I feel like he's just being a little bit too careful here when it comes to racing Noah.
Powell finally clears for 3rd place. Tell you one battle that's not cleared, though, is the battle for 7th. Greg Wachinski and Brian Johnson are going side by side further behind. They got a Hornets that's cars behind them. McMeekin is back there. So is Roy Hyde and Al Kozlowski. They've got Corey Cook just in front of them, who was side by side just a lap ago. Wachinski working on Brian Johnson still. 2 G&G teammates trying to see if they can run down Corey Cook.
I mean, this is definitely a cluster of race cars right here. All, racing very hard. I mean, could be the cause of a caution here. I mean, I could very well see something like that happen as we see Johnson looking to try to maybe go high on that 61.
Don't discount McMeekin in that 41 car. He may be laps down, but he's definitely faster. Wachinski leaning on Corey Cook to try to chase the 61 up the hill. And now will McMeekin dare to make it 3 wide? Doesn't look like he will. Wachinski dives it up. Corey Cook is scared out of the corner. That opens up the door a little bit for Brian Johnson, but he doesn't have room to make the move. Back to McMeekin is going to be able to capitalize.
I feel like Wachinski is like living on a prayer right now. I mean, he is throwing it into the corner, not having the best run right now. I feel like those guys behind him are faster than him. I just feel like he's just got the courage to stay in front of him. I mean,
and finally clears for P number 6. That leaves Brian Johnson to duke it out with a lap car of Matthew McMeekin. What a battle, though. I mean, absolutely incredible stuff that we've been seeing here. And now these fights here, these are not for position, mind you. These are lap cars just trying to see if they can make up the ground and potentially keep their laps back. They're all to do battling for lucky dog positions, but you got to keep in mind as well, which is no doubt a thing that's very important for these guys who are 2-3 laps down.
Well, I was kind of mistaken when I was talking about Greg Wachinski there. I mean, I kind of felt like he was suffering there, but I think once he got clear of these race cars, he's been doing very well. Maybe he has a chance to get up there to Chad, but I think time's running out here.
Brian Johnson still working on Corey Cook in the 61 machine, but can't get close enough to properly make the pass. We're coming now to what's going to be 12 laps to go. There's not a lot of time at all, only about 5 minutes or so left of green flag race before this thing closes on out. And tell you what, it's been a thrilling race here at Richmond Raceway for the MatrixAv.com 200. It's been a thrilling race, and it ain't quite done yet. Corey Cook got a bad line through turn 2. Here comes Brian Johnson.
Yeah, what a race. When we talk about all these races for, like, being lap cars and stuff like that, this is for position here. And look at that, Roy Hyde being multiple laps down there trying to put his way into this. I mean, you got to wonder about that. I mean, you don't want to ever affect someone else's race or ruin it, I don't think. Especially, Brian Johnson really loose in the straightaway there.
He held on to it. He did a good job, and that is going to sacrifice the spot up, though, to not just Corey Cook, but also Randy Drumhill and making a run on 9th place. And that's closing the gap a little bit more to 10th place of Kyle Labrie, but Labrie is still some distance behind. So I don't think Brian Johnson will be able to take those spots back. I think at this point, he's got to have to settle for 9th.
And now 9 laps remaining in this race, and Boyd Hogan and Justin Levine so far away, but they're close to one another, but they're so far away from 3rd place Kenny Powell.
That they are. You got a couple cars that are so much further away as well. I mean, Kenny Powell, 4.6 seconds back in this last lap by for Boyd Hogan and Justin Levine. And you can't forget as well that battle for fourth and fifth between Sullivan and Noah Bitts. That's still looking a little bit tighter, Justin behind, but I'll tell you what, even tighter, Corey Cook and Randy Drumhiller. They're battling for 7th and 8th at the moment, and it is ever a close one with Corey Cook on the inside line, but Drumhiller has got the overspeed on the run at turn 2 on the outside line with under 10 to go, and it looks like Drumhiller might be able to pick up P7.
Yeah, what a great race. I mean, we don't get to see a lot of these guys up front a lot, you know, up in the top 10. So, I mean, they definitely been fighting hard. You could tell the practice these guys have put in to you know, get to where they are right now. And, you know, everybody, I think, has been racing their guts out here tonight. I mean, I feel like everyone has had a chance. I mean, a lot of different teams really shining out here tonight. Wouldn't you say, Nolan?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you had a lot of guys that, you know, they've been coming on out here, and they've been trying to, you know, do their best to try to work their way up as much as they possibly can and finish as high as they can. For some, it's gone a little better than others. For others, like Clayton Hoffman, it all fell apart from matters completely out of their hands. But as we come around with 5 laps to go, there is not a lot of time at all to wrap some of these battles up, and I can tell you right now, we're probably going to get a send or two on these final laps.
Yeah, that would not be a surprise. I mean, especially someone like, you know, Chad Sullivan following Nola Bitts. I mean, if he gets on his nerves enough, a couple laps in, you know, left to go, he would send him. I mean, now's that time where the desperation kicks in. I need to get every spot I can. What am I willing to do?
3 laps remaining. How about we look up to Sullivan and Noah Bitts? That's the closest battle on track, and Sullivan is done playing around. He has reeled in Noah Bitts, coming to 3 to go. And the 21 car, he is looking like he wants to really fight for these final positions.
I mean, who could blame him? We've got 3 laps remaining. I mean, this is going to be over before you even, you know, blink here. Chad Sullivan's got to do something right now. I mean, it's going to be very difficult to actually get that pass done cleanly. Do you use the chrome horn? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's going to be all about what Chad feels like he, you know, does he deserve that 4th spot? And it could also work out well for Greg Wachinski. I mean, if Chad spins Noah and it goes wrong, Greg Wachinski's in the money.
White flag is in the air. This race will be finishing under regulation time. So the white flag waves. Sullivan and Noah Bitts look at a tango, and they might be able to see if they can fend him off to the end. Meanwhile, Boyd Hogan comes out of turn number 4. He wins the MatrixGap.com 200 here from the Richmond Raceway. It's a beautiful win for Boyd Hogan. But that battle for 4th, that's far from over. Sullivan's got one more chance to try to go for the bumper. Can he get closer for the bumper? Don't think he can. Bitts holds on for 4th.
What an exciting short track race this has been. I mean, you got to love racetracks like this. I mean, definitely classic NASCAR, and this definitely was one of those kind of races.
An absolutely stellar race out here tonight for the Richmond Raceway, despite the technical difficulties that we saw. That's short track racing at its finest. It's one of the most purest forms of hard racing that you can find. Boyd Hogan is going to burn it down the front stretch. We'll take a run through your official post-race results on MatrixGap.com 200 at the Richmond Raceway. Boyd Hogan, your race winner with Justin Levine down in 2nd place. Kenny Powell going to be rounding out the podium with Noah Bitts in 4th. That's going to put Chad Sullivan in 5th with Greg Wachinski in 7th. Corey Cook is in 8th. Brian Johnson 9th with Kyle Labrie rounding out the top 10 here, Brian.
Sorry about that. I accidentally disconnected for a second there. What did you say, Nolan?
Well, I'm handing you 11th to 20th.
All righty, 11th to 20th. You got it.
Oh, well, go on. Wayne Grossi going to be in 11th place with Al Kozlowski. Rounded out in 12th place. Cecil Keith in 13th with Josh Shopner 14th. It's going to be Matthew McMeekin in 15th. Roy Hyde 16th. Paul Regney 17th with Craig Johnson in 18th. Our Pat Gill, Clayton Hoffman rounded out 19th and 20th place. That leaves Travis Manning with Brian Littleton in 21st and 22nd. Chris Johnson 23rd with Connor Mulligan and Will Barlow 24th to 25th. Seth Hollander, unfortunately, was not able to make the call, and at the end of the day, he will find himself marked as a DNS on the race. So we're going to take down trackside to some post-race interviews at the end of the night, and we'll start things off with third-place finisher Kenny Powell. Kenny, you joined us up here, and my, oh my, what a fun race it was for you.
Yeah, I love this place. Man, so I had a decent run. Got involved in a little mix-up with something that happened in front of me. Gave me about a minute of damage I had to work through. It hurt me a little bit, but got that fixed. And the last caution really definitely helped me out. I saved my set of tires and was able to drive up to third.
This is no doubt good news for you in your championship hunt. You finished third place once again. I believe this might even put you up above Brian Johnson, your own teammate, and overtake him second place potentially in the point standings. What's that going to be looking like for you then coming into Bristol?
Definitely just going to try to have a consistent run at Bristol. I don't know if I'm in the running to win any of these, so I'm definitely going to have to run good and point my way in as far through this chase as I can.
We talk about, of course, what it looks like to potentially get ourselves, wrapped up here when it comes, the point standings. Do you have any particular goals at this moment coming into the playoffs?
Go as far as I can.
That's never a bad goal, shall we say, to run with. Well, Kenny, as always, a pleasure to talk with you up here. Before we let you go, anybody you'd like to shout out for your G&G number 24?
Yeah, definitely my team, G&G Racing. We worked on a great setup, and I felt real comfortable with it. So thanks to all those guys for doing what they do with the setups, and we'll keep getting it.
Kenny, once again, a pleasure to talk to you as always up here in the booth, and thank you for taking the time to coming over and join us, and best of luck next week at Bristol.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Nolan.
Continuing on through the order, it's Frontline Motorsports' Justin Levine to bring it home in second place. Brian Britt, you're standing by with our P2 finisher.
Justin, what a great race tonight, man. I mean, you had such a, really excellent car control out there, and, was the track difficult? Like, what kind of preparation did you come into, for Richmond here?
Definitely tried to keep the car under me. Been battling the balance of the car all race long, slipping and sliding off it too. But just kept working at it and tried to get the car the best it could. And I gave Boyd everything I could for about like 15 and 20 laps there. But once I got rear end damage, the car never drove the same.
Yeah, we could kind of see that. We didn't really see the accident on screen, but when we kind of went back to you, we definitely saw a lot of bent up race car at the back. You think that really affected you? I mean, even with the low downforce?
To an extent. Like, I don't think it would have been the difference between beating Boyd, but it just off the corner for some reason. I just didn't have that downforce that I had at the beginning of the race.
100%. I mean, you still did a great job. I mean, we're able to really stay right there with Boyd pretty much the entire race. So hopefully that's some learning experience for next time. Anybody can shout out for you that second place finish?
Definitely got to shout out you guys. Can't wait to go back and watch the broadcast. You guys do such an amazing job. Got to thank Kenny for putting this on for us. Without him, we wouldn't be here. Got to congratulate Boyd. That was pretty impressive. I had a lot of fun racing him. Good job to Kenny too. Everyone, got to thank everyone back at Frontline and Bruzy Raceway.
We definitely appreciate your time, Justin, and I'm sure Nolan's got Boyd right on the line.
That I do. I've dialed up Boyd, hogging all the wins, Hogan. You find yourself back in victory lane, but I imagine this one didn't quite come easily for you.
Wasn't bad. I thought it was going to be a lot worse, especially at the end there. I was just waiting on the caution to happen, so glad to get another one. Move on to the next round.
And of course, win is obviously great for your championship hopes. It means you're a lot more secure trying to get yourself up into the round of 6. Is the plan to still go for a title potentially at the end of the Super Cup Series season?
We're hoping so. Kind of depends on obviously when the Pro Series gets announced and what nights those are on. But as long as I don't got to be there for Caden or Jake, we're chilling. I'll be there.
So what's your thoughts about Bristol Motor Speedway? Obviously, the round of 8 has been, going from one shorter track to another. First was Darlington. Now, it was Richmond. And Bristol, the shortest of them all in the round of 8.
I mean, I love it. It's a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun testing and getting ready for it. Feel pretty good about the car already. Learned some things last night, and hopefully we can bring them into next week and do the same thing. Actually, I don't even know if I'll be here next week. we got Road to Pro, but it'll be fun. It'll be a good race to watch for sure. I think all the lanes are working about as good as you could probably ask for, so it'll be interesting.
An interesting race coming up, to say the very least. Well, Boyd, as always, a pleasure to be able to, come on, bring you on up here and give us a chat up here in the broadcast booth. Before I let you go, though, anybody you'd like to shout out for your number 96 machine?
Everybody at Legacy Esports, Bobby himself, Chris Hill for being on the box tonight, Chris Pfeffer turning all the laps this week. I think I turned probably, 9 or 10 before the race today, and just showed up with what we had in the spring, and it was pretty good. Happy with it. And everybody at Blackstone Management, Kevin Kirchar, Cale Gale, everybody who put this deal together. Champion Power Equipment, Curb Records, ISCA Avalanche. Can't thank them enough. You guys, obviously, for putting on the show. Oh, and JD Laird. I forgot him last week, and he gave me a little bit of a hard time over it. So, JD Laird for the badass Curb Records Camaro.
Well, it's been a pleasure, as always, being able to talk with you, Boyd. Hopefully we'll see you back at Victory Land again before the end of the season. Congratulations on the victory, though, here at Richmond Raceway, and we'll see you, hopefully, in a little while later on in the series.
Thanks, sir.
That was Boyd hogging all the wins, Hogan, and that is going to just about wrap up the night for us here. But Brian, we find ourselves now in the final race in the round of 8 at Bristol Motor Speedway. It's a half track, but it's a fast half track. It's known as the world's last great Coliseum. What do you think the plan is going to be, and what do you think the racing might look like coming into that fast half-mile track?
Well, I think it's aptly named for sure, considering, we're going to see a lot of brutal, guys hitting into each other and stuff like that. It's going to be a lot of trading pain out there, that's for sure. And I think really the guy that can save his tires there and be as smooth as possible and, be able to really use every line, because I think that's really going to be very important.
It certainly will. Picking your lines and no doubt picking your battles is going to be really crucial over at Bristol Motor Speedway. And no doubt we can't wait to see how the round of 8 will be able to wrap on up. But for the time being, we'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to join us here for more for the iRacing Stock Car Association Super Cup Series. And I'm Nolan Rempel. And Brian Britt's been with me down in the commentary box with Rob Melnick, once again doing a great job as technical director by the cameras for tonight's race. We thank you all for joining us once again for more here on the ISCA YouTube channel or on Twitch or on Facebook. We're happy to be joining us, and we hope we'll see you next week at Bristol.